Notification. Okay, boom. All right, and right back from our commercial break of the sponsors. Right back here with Brother Captain Wayne Muhammad out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum again, sir. Yes, sir. And we want to get right into the segment. I want to show you a clip. Share my screen and show a clip, and then we want to get directly into it to talk about your time with our brother, the legendary Michael Jackson. All right, 1 second. And let us know. There we go. Of course. Okay, boom, and we'll come back to the next part. All right. So, Brother Captain, can you let us know what it was like working with the King of Pop?
It was a job. It was nice, man. You know, when you go to work and you have to go to a mansion and you have to live alongside of a man who is a multi-millionaire, you can't help but enjoy it.
Mm.
You know, he had a large home. I was blessed to have a home. It wasn't nearly the size of his. Matter of fact, it wasn't the size of his bedroom.
Mm.
And I have some vehicles myself, but it wasn't 22 Rolls Royces and Bentleys.
Mm.
So it was nice, very comfortable. I know that some of the people that worked for him, but not with him, you know, there was complaints, but my assessment was simply that most of the complaints, quote unquote, were based on people that were between the complainant and Michael himself.
Mm.
I got to travel all over the place. I got to stay in the best places. And I particularly had a strong appreciation for not only Michael's desire to treat everyone as royalty, but he took the time out of his schedule to sit down with myself and Brother Bashir and share with us how he would like the people to be treated as royalty.
Mm.
And, you know, some of my job assignments were out of this world. We got back from, I believe it was Maui, and Brother asked me, he said, Brother Wayne, could you go down to the ranch and check on Baloo for me? And I said, yes, sir, no problem. I had no idea who Baloo was, but I had to ask, you know, who is Baloo? And he told me it was the bear, named after the bear from Jungle Book.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so my dumb behind went down to the ranch and started playing with the bear.
Mm.
And the question that I was asked was the bear still people friendly, or should we send him to an animal sanctuary? Now, I personally didn't feel like I had the expertise to determine whether a bear is people friendly And I did not want to experience if the bear was not people friendly. When I was the people, he was supposed to be befriended.
Mm.
But I ended up actually having a really good time with Baloo. Every time I went to the ranch, before I went to the main house, I used to go to the zoo and interact with Baloo. And so the brother gave me experiences that, being a black man, I probably would have never ever have experienced things. Matter of fact, have you ever played with a bear?
No, sir.
Yeah, you get my point, right? So it was a beautiful time to me, brother. I took his Bentley to the shop, and it was $6,000 for a service. And he wanted to know why it cost so much. And the mechanic said it was because the car hadn't been used. So he asked me again if I would take the time out of my schedule, which he was paying me for, to go around and drive each one of the cars at least once a week. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I enjoy driving. So,
Yes.
so you know, it definitely was a job, but the truth of the matter is, I was just living with my brother.
Mm.
And for about, I'd say about a year or so, we were on the road. We traveled here, there, and the other. And I experienced some places that I hadn't been before. So yeah, I have no complaints. I actually miss my brother.
Mm.
You know, we got close. I mean, we had a security detail, but as you can see in most of the photos, I wasn't really doing security.
Mm.
I was just making sure the sun didn't touch the vitiligo.
Mm.
And so if you look at all the photos, you never see the sun hitting his face. So I guess I did my job. But that being said, I have no complaints with my brother. I do miss him. And his children came out here for his birthday with their uncle. And, you know, they enjoyed themselves. They go to the show. It's supposed to be one of the #1 shows based on him. And they enjoy it. From my understanding, they come every year. So I still have a lot of feelings for my brother, you know, and I really enjoyed time with most of his family. His brother Marlon is married to my cousin Carol, and I spent time on the road with Jermaine. And Jackie lives out here in Vegas. When Michael first went to Bahrain, I was reassigned to help out his mother. And I really enjoyed my time with Mom. She's a very, very, very sweet lady. She actually reminded me a lot of our dear mother of our nation, Mother Khadijah. And, I enjoyed my time with her. And, you know, speaking of Mother Khadijah, I had an assignment from Michael that he desired for me to do. And I wasn't, let's just say I wasn't willing to do it. He wanted me to hang a portrait that was painted of him that ended up costing about $3 million. And the painting was 12 foot tall and 8 foot wide. And he asked me to hang it up because he finally had a wall that was long big enough for him to put it on. And I said, no, sir. I said, I don't even know how to apologize for $3 million worth of apology. And so I wasn't willing to do that because I knew that if anything happened, I wasn't in a position to replace it. He said, come on, brother, you can do it, Brother Wayne, you can do it. And I was like, no, brother, I can't take that chance. And mother happened to be visiting at the time. And she said, Brother Wayne, go on and do that. You know you can do that. You know that man wants you to do that. And, you know, I don't know what it is about that woman, but there's just no way I could ever tell her no. I just love her so dearly. And she actually blessed me with a visit to our home in Las Vegas. And she met with my mother. And I was able to prove to her. I told her that she looked a lot like my grandmother. And so my mother had one of the pictures of my grandmother on the wall. And sure enough, they did look very similar. And at that time, had Dr. Betty Shabazz was also with us. It was their reunion after being separated for 30 years. And it was very, very, very beautiful. But I'm gonna get back to Michael. I got this. The whole thing with Michael was just that, family. So yes, I worked for Michael, but I had a lot of interaction with his family. I worked with Janet, I worked with Latoya, I worked with Rebe, her children, and you know, all in all, dear brother, I had a good time. So yes, it was a job, but I really never thought of it like that.
Beautiful.
I would say this, I did kind of miss some time with my family. It was a huge sacrifice from dealing with my family, because at one point in time, again, for about a year, outside of traveling, I actually lived with the brother. And, you know, hard to complain when you sharing a space with a brother like that in 38,000 square feet. You know, my house wasn't even 3,000 at the time. And it goes back to those insinuations about Michael, how they say, oh my goodness, he had children in his bedroom. Well, his bedroom was 5,000 square feet. The average home is probably around 2,000 square foot. Don't hold me to that as actual fact. I said around that amount. Bottom line is, you could fit at least 2 of the average homes inside of his bedroom. So it gives you a different perspective, you know, when you talk about how crazy Michael was. Well, do you remember when you were 7 years old? Do you?
No, sir.
Do you remember when you were 9 years old?
No, sir.
Do you remember when you were 11 years old?
No, sir. No, sir.
13.
Okay, yes, sir. 13, yes, sir.
Okay. Michael Jackson got a brand new Rolls Royce or Bentley every other year since he was 7 years old. Now, you don't even remember when you were 7 years old, so we're going to go out on a limb and say that probably wasn't normal for you.
Correct.
So, as a society, most of us are in the same category you're in, so we think he crazy. The reality, he had the means to be crazy, but he chose to be civilized. He chose the children because the children wasn't lying to him like he lied to one another. The children were innocent, and he valued that. He gave over $400 million in charity. You know, I checked my whole family tree. We ain't made $400 million yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he was just a really, really beautiful brother. And again, he loved the minister. And you know, that's the key to my heart right there. If you cool with him, you cool with me. If you ain't got nothing to do with him, you ain't got nothing to do with me. So all around, it was a beautiful experience. I learned a tremendous amount of things that people with means can do that people that have not yet gained the means have never experienced. And it was those people who have not yet gained the means that were so critical of him. How can you be critical of someone who lives a totally different lifestyle than you do? And it's the only lifestyle that they know from back when they can remember being around here. And here it is, many of us live an entire lifetime without a memory like that. So my brother, not only was he not crazy or a wacko jackal, he was actually a very beautiful, civilized human being who was not only very, very loving, but indeed well loved.
Good, Rick Captain. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And thank you, everyone who continues to like, share, and subscribe to the People's Podcast. My sister Miriam and Naima both in the greetings. Thank you, everyone who for every comment. All right. I wanted to ask you about, let's go back to Betty Shabazz and Mother Farrakhan. What was that detail like?
Oh man, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I don't know exactly how I got excited, but I was so grateful. Dr. Shabazz and Malcolm's daughter had got into some trouble. And it was in regards to the minister. And the minister, the minister being the minister, he helped my sister get out of the trouble. And it led to the reunion of Mother Khadijah and Dr. Betty getting together. And they did that reunion here in Las Vegas. And I was blessed to be their security for grandson, And it was so heartwarming, brother, to keep a straight face for the couple of weeks that they were here was very, very difficult. But I took my assignment very, very seriously. When they opened up their hotel room doors, I was right there. And I saw to it that I was the last one that was seen when that door was closed. And, to hear stories about Malcolm, about our dear sister Donna sitting on Malcolm's lap when they told her she was going to be the flower girl at their wedding. It's so much. They told us stories about Malcolm when he was in the locker room with Muhammad Ali, before Muhammad Ali jumped on the ropes and said, "I am the greatest." Malcolm had shared with him in the locker room prior to that Allah was the greatest and that he made you the best champion that there ever will be. And it was a pep talk. And actually, Ali got a little bit mixed up. And so when he got done with it, he said, "I am the greatest." And that tended to stick a little bit. The conversations that we had, whether it was seeing a show, whether it was going out to the Valley of Fire, the Hoover Dam, whether it was just having coffee in the morning, it was just, oh man, that reunion was so beautiful that it took me back, like I mentioned with Brother Jabril, it took me back to a place that I had not been. And I was able to share the love that they had while they were together during the times that their husbands were soldiering at the highest degree that many of us may never even get to, but yet they were brothers and they were soldiers. I know, things didn't turn out the way that we all would have liked it to. But the reality is, prior to us having judgments, there was much love. And I could see it in my mother and my dears. Matter of fact, every time that Dr. Betty came back to Vegas, she would call me to come pick her up from the airport. We literally bonded. We were bonded, and that particular situation took place prior to mother coming to visit Michael out in California. And so I feel like there was kind of a connection. And I'm not trying to put that on mine. Let me tell you where my heart was. And I just love her dearly. I got a chance to work with Maria and Josh. And, I've been on so many details with our beloved current Supreme Captain. And man, I believe that I have soldiered in some kind of way, shape, or form with everybody in our beloved family, with the exception of Holiday. Sister Holiday, I don't recall, I recall meeting her, but I don't recall if we ever had any type of experiences. But everybody else, to have such a large family, obviously with a wonderful man and a wonderful woman at the helm, you gotta have wonderful children. And in my humble opinion, I believe that it's difficult to love a man, or let's just say you love a man, if you're not able to say you love his children. I had to soften that up a little bit. I didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Oh, brother, so I love that man. He got some crazy children. I can't stand it. That don't work out, you know what I mean? So, it would do us well if we truly love the Father. We should share that love with his children. I have loved your family since before you all even knew I loved. I gotta tell you one more.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to divert too much, but we talked about Michael's mother. We talked about Mother Khadijah. We talked about our dear beloved Dr. Betty. But man, I gotta tell you about my mama Muhammad. My mama Muhammad, brother, your grandmother. Man, when your father was sitting on the post, I used to call him for my assignments. And oftentimes, matter of fact, if I didn't call the office and I tried to reach him at the house, back then we didn't have one phone. We had a whole one. You actually had a house phone, that wasn't in your pocket. But man, I was so blessed to be able to talk to my mama Muhammad. Oh my goodness, she would answer the phone most of the times, whether he was there or not. And I always enjoy having a conversation with that wonderful woman. I don't know how Jamil came about, but I could see your mother in your grandmother. Sister Stephanie, Sister Sharifa, she was a beautiful woman, just like her mother. And I could see where she got it from. Again, I love me some Brother Jamil, but I don't know how that worked out. He's still my brother and my friend, man. And we had some good times together as well. And so far, brother, we've talked about a whole bunch of pioneers. I don't think any woman other than my wife and my mother will ever have my heart the way that Mother Khadijah. And that's just not because she's married to the minister, she's the mother of our nation, all that stuff. I get that. And we should all respect her in that matter. But I'm talking about a personal lifetime experience with a human being that has touched my heart.
Mm.
And yeah, man, it doesn't matter what any of their children would do. I have so much love for them that the love for their children are ingrained. And it's that particular generation, the ones that were learning with me, that we tend to overlook, but we have some real monsters in the works, man. I don't know if you were able to pick up on the webcast that we have on Sundays. I know he had a small part today, but have you noticed the growth and maturity and the closeness of our beloved brother minister Ishmael? You know, even your father, brother, has combed over the rugged leadership into a much more mature and knowledgeable leadership. You know, I look at our beloved Minister Wazir and Walid, and I look at how Minister Malik and Captain Halim are holding up. You know, they bringing up the rear, as you will, you know. But even where I came from, Halim was in Pomona prior to me. And as I learned, so was Brother Jabril in the Inland Empire prior to myself. And all these wonderful people that we have regional ministers. Look at I kind of already spoke about him, but our current Supreme Captain, man, what kind of man is that, man? This man has the ability to maintain and endure through difficulties and joy, all in the same city, brother. And you know, man, we all have issues. But I look at him as my brother who, by God's grace, I can pretty much call and lay my heart on the table. And yeah, he gonna clown me a little bit, but at the same time, he gives me that wisdom, that brotherhood, that encouragement. He's definitely a driver of men.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But he's also a great helper. You know, you can ask him questions, but he's so knowledgeable about what his father says that oftentimes the answer to your question, and in truth, maybe it shouldn't, but it won't come from him. He'll refer to you to what his father said. And if his father is about to speak and we're anticipating, and you ask him a question, he will defer his answer. Let's wait to see what my father says. And, you know, I've been blessed to work with, I've known a few Supreme Captains, but I've been able to bless to be working with 3 of them. Brother Frank or Brother Ali, he was, when I first became a captain, he was the Supreme Captain at that time. And I remember we were in Oakland right around the time when Huey Newton was assassinated. And it was so fresh that the neighborhood wouldn't even let him wash his blood off the sidewalk. And myself and Brother Stanley, who was working with me and poor little Mona. We got to the venue in Oakland a little bit late, and our beloved Supreme Captain at that time was roaming the grounds. And Lord have mercy, he spotted us. And we thought we was about to catch one. He said, praise be to Allah, brothers, I have just here sign. And earlier I said that I had held every post but MDT. But brother put me and Brother Stanley on the MGT check. Now, don't get me wrong, we wasn't behind the curtains. We were standing at the door at a table so as to when the sisters come in, they had to open their purses so that we could see the father. And that way, if they had anything, we would be able to deal with it. Now, I would be remiss if I said that, you know, I took it with a grain of salt. I didn't quite understand the assignment until I got into the assignment and I saw the knives and the guns and the pistols that were in the sisters' purses. I'm like, okay, so now I kind of see why I'm here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I don't really have to go into why the type of experience I had when your father was a Supreme Captain. Again, it was way, way, way different. But I still have that type of love that came about from studying Study Guide 14 and the respect for authority. Some of us read the study guide and think that respect for authority has to do with the popo. I never saw that. My respect for authority is based on those that are in authority from the author. And I often said that when people said, well, this brother's in authority right now, and I would often correct them and say, no, sir, I only borrow the authority from those above us. I acted as a liaison for Brother Captain Wali. I acted as a liaison for your father at times. And you know, I didn't take it lightly, but it was out of my respect for those men that I was able to get things done, and perhaps the reason why I'm still here today. You know, I was trained a little bit different, and I wasn't thinking straight when I was younger. And I can remember times when I had in my mind to do something a certain kind of way. And by God's grace, the minister was right there, and he walked up behind me and he took over the situation. We only have one, and it wasn't me. He took over the situation and blessed me with the opportunity to see in real life, in real time, how differently my thoughts were than his. Many of us would benefit from those type of opportunities. You know, like I said at the very beginning, I don't know if it was cut out or not, but I said I ain't had no problem because I brought my God with me.
Yes, sir. And
I recommend that many of us keep our God with us. I'm not saying nothing about praying 5 times a day. I think that's beautiful, but you have to ask yourself a question. When you are out and about, I'm not talking about suited and booted. I'm not talking about a beautiful garment. I'm not talking about inside the structured walls of any mosque or study room. I'm talking about when you're out and about. Do you even think? Does the thought process come about in your mind? Are you seeing God alongside of you? Do you feel the presence of God? Or better yet, maybe we're not advanced enough to know the feeling of God or the presence of God. Are you acting other than yourself? Would you, in fact, still do the same, let's just say, thing that we do if we really believe that God is with us. And I believe, I haven't asked the question, you know, Lord knows I was blessed to ask him so many questions. And I haven't asked that question yet, but I believe it's the reason that the messenger and the minister have such great character in all that they do, because the God is with them.
Mm.
And I believe we could enhance our character, our civility, our interactions, if we believed that the God was actually with us in making our presentations, in making our actions, and achieving our goals. You know, it's very, very difficult to become a millionaire if you do not possess thoughts that millionaires have. If you're not going to wake up in the morning and do what millionaires do, then how do you expect to become one? Everything else is made simple. So if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to medical school and study under doctors. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school and study under lawyers. We're striving to become gods, brother. And we have teachings that will allow us to become gods. We have examples of what God can do to men just like us. And I say that without no disrespect, because honestly, I don't see him as a man just like us. But for the sake of conversation, you understand? It is such a blessing, brother, to be even in this course. Many of us don't understand that this course was designed not just by Allah, who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, but the most powerful God that there ever was, brother. He came for us. Us. I know some people don't believe. At the same time, that's why I always say he came to us in the person of Master Farrakhan. Maybe you don't believe, maybe he didn't come to you, but he came to us, and he gave us such a wonderful course. He taught a man with a third-grade education.
That's right.
Wonderful scientist. Come on now. We don't fathom this because we still trying to put 2 plus 2 together. We don't realize that man had mastery over forgotten mathematics that we've never even heard of.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes,
man
sir.
spoke languages that we haven't heard of. When the last time you was able to communicate with birds? We can't fathom that, just like the story with Mike. We can't fathom that because we have not yet developed the means to even be in the conversation. You can only imagine in the 30s what they were saying about our poor message.
That's right. That's right.
Really, brother? God, really, brother? Come on now. But look what God did, huh? Won't he do it? And, you know, the minister, I thank Allah for him so much, because without him, even though I've been blessed to be able to see him face to face and talk to him face to face, you know, I'm thankful to him because he introduced me to them. He's the one who taught me who God is. And I love him for that. But there's one that's even deeper. He taught me who I am. And I'll forever be appreciative to him for that. And that's not to put the slight on the master or the messenger. I thank them for allowing him to get to me in order for me to learn of them.
Mm,
And I'll
mm,
never put anybody over God, but I sure do have a strong love for that man. You know, we are all here. The fact that I'm talking to you is because we know that man. Did you meet the messenger?
no, sir.
Did you meet the master?
No, sir.
Then there's got to be some way, somehow that we got connected. And I thank Allah each and every day for that man and the sacrifice and the work that he did. And I'm striving diligently to duplicate. Not what he did. Not what he did. I don't have his assignment. He's still my example. His example to me is not for me to become a Messiah. His example to me is to become a well-groomed man, a civilized man, a righteous man. Maybe not a holy man, but maybe one day, as way the society is going today, as savage as the opposition to God is today, maybe we might all be considered holy in comparison. But the reality is, dear brother, man, we have a wonderful, wonderful life layout if we choose to accept it.
That's right.
I know you got a lot of questions, man. I have to say this, though. It's not in closing, but it should be. You know, we are so blessed. We have one particular issue. I've heard it said many times that Allah promised us. You know, he promised us money, luxury, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. And by his grace and mercy, I humbly believe that he's blessed me with that promise. That being said, I also believe that he gave me an assignment to fulfill to receive that blessing. And it starts with after. It starts with a word, it's after. And it goes something like this. After learning mathematics, which is Islam, and Islam is mathematics, it stands true.
That's right.
It can be proven in no limit of time.
That's right. That's right.
And it gets a little more complicated after that. The next word is then. Then we must learn, and that's the second time learn has been used.
Yes, sir.
So then we must learn to use it. Use it to secure some benefits while we're still alive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that is, here go again, money, luxury, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. Now that sounds real similar to what many of us have heard called a promise. But in that promise, it definitely sounds to me like there's an assignment involved to receive that promise. And like everything else, it's very difficult for us to obtain anything lest we go through the procedures necessary to even prepare ourselves to obtain these things. And then we must learn to use what we've learned to obtain these things to obtain these things. So I hope and pray, you know, that we can all gather a bit of understanding. Not that I'm the one to bring it. Trust me, as Brother Jabril told me over and over, we don't have an original thought in our minds. But I'm so grateful for the minds that came before me that shared. And so that's all I'm striving to do at this point in time, is to again share. You know, our beloved minister, I ain't trying to put his business out there, but you know, he got me through a lot, man. I had some chronic health issues, but I was blessed to be in a position to escort him even during some of the downtimes. And I was able to see again as an example of how a man who may not be at his best, but his character was still at its best. And I thank and love him so much for that. And in truth, it goes beyond that. It's my gratitude to God for allowing our lives to be in the same generation or the same path.
Yes, sir.
I could say I'm not quite in his generation. He got me by a day or two, but but I still love him, and I still color that man father. I color that man love. That's all I got to say about that, brother. You go on with your next question, brother.
Yes, sir. You teaching, Rick. Teaching.
You know, I tend to digress every now and then, but it's always with good intentions. It's just some things come to my mind that I feel the need to share.
Excellent. Yes, sir. And Dr. Carter says, teach, brother. I had this conversation. He had the conversation yesterday. People saying, whoa, all praises to Allah. But Nelson Ramos, God University. I mean, good teaching, God University. Everybody saying praise Must's name, says praises to Allah.
All praises to Allah.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Okay. So I wanted to ask that question that Dr. Carter had about, because a lot of people want to know about Michael Jackson as well, sir. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank Allah for you, sir, and your family sacrifices that you all have made. Continue to let them know that we love them, and we send them the love to you all. May Allah continue to bless you all for helping establish Islam here in North America. And thank your children and your wife, your grandchildren, for sharing you with us. So we thank Allah for them for that as well.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You're not gonna get me misty on this thing, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do that. Okay, so dealing with Michael Jackson's death, do you think, like, what are your thoughts on that? Was that just like a natural thing, or was there foul play, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, sir. No, sir. I don't want to get you kicked off of this internet thing. But I know Michael told me that in the event that this scenario did play out pretty similar to the way that it did, he said that it would be Tommy Mottola, who was the head of Sony at the time that they had great disputes about. And when I was with Michael, the alleged Dr. Murray was not anywhere around. And the doctors that came in when myself and Brother Bashir began to work inside the house, and we as a nation were securing the property and a lot of his movements, the doctor said that whatever we are doing, he hopes that we will continue to do it, because he had been Michael's doctor for a couple of decades, and he had not seen this type of improvement in Michael in quite some time. So we took great joy in helping our brother. You know, I personally, you know, I grew up in California, man. Ain't nobody starstruck. You know, I've been knowing Michael since I was 12 years old. Me and Michael played basketball in the backyard while his brother was courting my cousin. So, you know, yeah, he was a lot different when he returned than he was when we was 12, granted. But he was still a good brother, man. You know, and there's a whole lot of misconceptions about Michael. Michael knew they were trying to kill him. You know, Michael had a pretty decent grip on life. He asked a lot of questions, but it sounded like he was timid or he was questioning what was going on. But the reality is he got the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he knew things were happening like that. Yeah, it was a drug issue, but that drug issue is something that anybody that's ever been on any kind of drugs, hell, sometimes even just medication, you do feel a need for it. But the question has to always come, how did we get there?
Mm-hmm.
I get that we feel a need for it, but if we never had it before, do we still feel a need for it? No.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point in time, somebody had to introduce that to him.
Mm-hmm.
And as we found out through the trial, just anybody can't introduce it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be a certain type of, how you call it, let's just call it an introduction into a certain thing that even allows you to know what that certain thing tastes like, feels like, looks like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Without it, we can't know what we missing. We can't have no urges like that. So let's get to the root of it, as the messengers say. How about we try and figure out who is it that first injected that substance into our brother? See, because that's who should have been in place of Conrad Murray. But if you look at the paperwork, it's real sketchy. Conrad Murray was contracted to do what he did, but he was contracted in a way to do what he did without the proper signatures on the contract. See, you can definitely trace it if it was traceable. But when you leave out some of the breadcrumbs, it's hard to skip from one to another if you ain't putting them down in quite a few steps. So I don't have the actual evidence. I have what my brother told me, and I have the vision that I was blessed to see in his absence. And from what I've been able to be privy to, it's exactly as Brother Michael told me. And I believe Brother Bashir will be able to bear me witness that he talked about this. He talked about it, because I think that the opposition blamed Tommy Martola for the sale of that catalog to Michael, which really was not in the best interest of those that were backing Tommy Martola. You know, and so, man, I wish I could give you actual facts. All I can tell you is my life's experience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And whether it's right or wrong, as far as documentation, which we now realize that even some documentations can be false.
That's right.
So
That's
that
right.
being said, I'm gonna go with my life experience for myself as my own actual facts, because it don't get no realer than that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Captain, what did you say? What did you say when he told you that? And you on security for him, and he tells you the people trying to kill him. What do you say?
Seek refuge in Allah. I mean, there's, brother, if I was a wonderful boxer trainer, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
you were a boxer, okay? It would be very difficult for you to come to me in the 8th round and say, hey, I need you to train me, man. This cat's whooping my behind. That's not the way sequences of things happen. I got a chance to work with Dr. Torrey. I got a chance to work with Dr. Sebi. And Dr. Torrey lived with me for a little while. Dr. Sebi traveled with us when we were with Michael and we lived together for a while on the road. They had really good products and some wonderful knowledge. But I use my life experience again, and I share this not to knock either one of them or any of their products. But when my father was going blind and had cancer, I was given herbs to help restore the vision and to help reverse the cancer. And to make a long story short, or in my case, a long story longer, my father passed away blind with cancer. So I'm not saying herbs don't work, but don't wait till the championship rounds of your demise before you call on said herbs. Don't wait for the championship rounds of your demise when you're getting your butt kicked to ask for a better trainer. This is not how we do things. We have to take care of ourselves. And I get it. Trust and believe. I understand that some of the things that happen to us are targeted. You know, I'm not trying to release nobody's business or anything like that. I thank Allah for personal times, talks, and chats. At the same time, man, they're not just targeting the God. They're not just targeting the messenger. They're not just targeting the minister. They're targeting all of us, man. If we willing to stand up and say, you know what? I only serve one master, and I don't see him amongst you all. So I'm going to stay with my God. I'm going to stay with my messenger. I'm going to stay with my minister. I believe he's the one you looking for. And I'm going to keep on spreading this truth until you, either by what they call that, population something, they decreasing. Ain't as much white folks being born as they are dying. They dying off. So one way or another, it will not be the opposition for long. And so we have to now be concerning ourselves with the mindset that goes behind it, right? We look black. Some of us even talk black. But are we thinking black? Or are we thinking the way that the people that raised us think? See, if we're talking about the opposition of God, we have to remember that they made an agreement with God for a respite.
That's right. That's right.
Until the day
that
they are raised.
That's right.
So why would they raise us properly? That's why they fear that black man who has shared with us truth that makes us strong, truth that makes us fearless, truth that allows us to share actual facts with other people who were blind, deaf, and dumb, who had ignored truth, making them ignorant. I don't mean that as an insult, but many of our people are ignorant.
That's right.
Not as an insult, they just ignore things. I remember a dear sister in Jamaica. We were out there in advance and we were waiting. It probably was about a day or two before the minister's arrival. And I was in the gym working out. And I got up from the bench press machine and I seen what I have to share with you was a gorgeous woman. I had to control myself because I knew what I was there for. But she was absolutely beautiful, and she did not have a garment on, not one that I was used to. She had she had on spandex.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And she was gorgeous, and her first words, she said, "Brother, are you with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?" And I felt so relieved Because, you know, sometimes when the guard is sitting right next to you, it's easier for you to do the right thing.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
I said, yes, ma'am, I am. And she said to me, dear brother, could you tell him for me that there is at least one Jamaican that does not want to see him here today? And you got to forgive me, I don't have a Jamaican accent. I just threw that in there. But but long story longer, I was able to find out from her who she was a doctor, but she had went to medical school in the States. And she had never, ever heard the minister. She only heard what her colleagues had told her, and she never even seen a video. So I invited her to come and hear the minister, and she accepted. And she had a totally, totally different mindset of who that man is. And this was many, many years ago, but she ended up joining us in Jamaica. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful for what that man has taught me. And I'm even grateful or more grateful to Allah for the ability to learn. I learned that if we do what we're taught, we can then learn to use it and we can secure many, many benefits. And I consider her one of those friendships in all walks of life. I went to Kenya and I gained a friendship with the vice president of Kenya, whose daughter was a part of our tour group. And he took us to Maasai village, where the Maasai warriors were. And an elder, obviously I had never seen before, an elder, he said, my brother, we have waited over 400 years for you to return. And he thanked me for coming to his village. And, you know, I feel like I'm as strong as the rest of them, you know what I mean? But yeah, I went beyond Misty, brother. I nearly broke down bad out there, man. They treated your brother like family. And obviously I had never ever seen them before, and they're many, many miles away. But it's this teaching, brother, that if we accept it and we learn how to use it, people will treat us in the same manner that they would treat the minister, the messenger, and in some cases, the master.
That's right.
This is absolutely amazing, brother. And so getting back to Michael from that same vein, Michael loved the minister. Michael actually wrote a song about Islam. And if I'm not mistaken, a portion of the song was played at one of our Savior's days. Don't hold me to that. I believe that's correct though. And at the same time, even though because of Thriller, he was kicked out of the circle in the Kingdom Hall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We still brought Michael to the Kingdom Hall. And we would wait till the meeting started and we would sit in the back. You know, they say in the Jehovah's Witnesses say, you know, we don't worship idols and stuff like that, you know, and celebrities and stuff. Everybody's treated equal. Well, we want to make sure we didn't bust them out on that, because they definitely saw Michael a little bit different. But we would go in and make sure that the meeting had started, and then we would take Michael, bring him into the back, and let him sit through the meeting and get him out of there before the meeting closed out. And we did that a few times. And he was greatly appreciative of that. because he loved his mother.
Mm.
And his mother was a devout witness. And, you know, man, that was for her. But that's what kind of man he was. And because of that, because of the catalog, because of his consciousness, whoo, and then the reality of it all, that one song that they made him change because it had Jumi in it. Ooh, they didn't like that. But Michael was able to see them that much clearer.
Mm.
If those words could not only make you want to edit the song, but because of Michael's mindset at the time, Tony Bartola took all of Michael's, whatever they would call it at the time, CDs, off the shelf.
Mm. Mm.
And it was some of his best work too, to be honest with you. But they cleared the shelves. They wouldn't promote it at all.
Mm.
So there's a big force that is out there that we don't see, that is totally against us, is very, very negative. But don't concern yourself with that. Just remember what our beloved minister said. He also has an army that you see and an army that you don't see.
Oh, wow.
It's the same forces of good that outweigh the forces of evil that we don't see.
Oh, wow.
We'll be fine as long as we learn, and then we learn how to use it. So I don't think Michael had a fear. I think Michael had an understanding. And I don't think Michael went any differently than Prince did.
Mm. Mm.
You know, we just had a real weird situation with Jamie Foxx. And if it had not have went well, we'd have found something else of normality to say what happened to Jamie. You know, we don't know what happened to Michael. We don't know what happened to Prince. We don't know what happened to many of our celebrities. You know, they are finding more and more ways to deal wisely with us. They're no longer assassinating us. That won't work anymore. They're no longer stringing us out on drugs. They're giving us mysterious things now. And they're trying to see how it works out so that they can do better on the next one. You know, I was poisoned many, many, many years ago.
Mm.
And I didn't realize I was poisoned until years passed, that the drug that they introduced me to allegedly save me was almost took me out.
Mm.
So I get it. I'm not tripping. I can't be mad at them. Why? Because they're doing their jobs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My prayer is for us to get up off our backsides and start doing our jobs. I've been in a wheelchair for about 8 years, and I refuse to stop. I don't walk much anymore, but I roll a whole lot. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, whatever Allah blessed me to do. You know, we all have an assignment. No, we don't have the same assignment. You ain't seen me move since I've been on this camera. But I'm still sharing truth with my people.
Allahu Akbar.
Or in this case, the people. It's the People's Podcast. Please subscribe. Anyway, I digress. It's a wonderful world we live in.
Yes,
and
sir.
take it or let it alone. It's not their world.
Mm. Mm.
All we have to do is recognize not just the Jesus of old, but the today, the Jesus. He's in this world, but he's not of this world.
Right.
So why are we of this world?
Mm, mm.
You know, one thing about being ill, brother, it literally hampers your movement. In my case, well, I had no choice to not be of the world. I couldn't get out there in the world.
Mm, mm.
Right? But the reality is, man, I had a wonderful example of how to deal with that part of my life. And so, by God's grace, I haven't missed a beat.
Mm. Praise be to Allah.
I don't have a lot of money, but I got some. I'm not really into the whole luxury thing. I just like nice things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And some of them, you know, I have a wonderful home. It's far beyond good, and it has nothing to do with where it is or how it is or the structure of it all. The reality is the home is my wife and I. And our sanctuary is the teachings.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and we love it. I remember as a youngster when I finally stopped doing the wrong things. It was such a comfort. I didn't have to look in my rearview mirror as hard. You know, I used to wreck a lot of cars because my eyes was in the rearview mirror to see if anybody was following me. But that's a different subject. All I'm saying is that we're blessed and we have an opportunity if we are willing to learn, if we're willing to fulfill our assignments, whether our assignments come from instructions or the problem book, if we're willing to study, if we're willing to become students. You know, we are blessed right now that everybody is a student.
That's right.
I don't know if we get it. You know, I know prior to this new millennium thing, we wasn't students. We should have been. And some of us were studying, but the ones that were really studying, we pretty much know them as household names. You know, and I love the fact that through our assignment as students, we are now becoming much, much wiser. Our lectures are becoming much more detailed. If you look at our beloved brother Ishmael, he brings the proof, brother. He get up there and he gives a mighty word. And it is becoming very, very evident of the reflection that he's presenting from that word. And then he has a big screen TV behind him to share actual facts on that word that he just shared with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I feel it's a beautiful, beautiful format. And it's a wonderful way to get the truth out in the modern day time. You know, I went to school for 16 years. Unfortunately, none of that I went to school for is applicable in today's society. We have babies right now that are being given iPads in the crib, and they know how to work a computer better than me. And I hope I don't ever have to compete with them for a job because they're going to get it. They don't have to worry about me. I don't know if I'm going to be getting too many more jobs. But our society is beautiful. It's up to us to work very, very hard. It's difficult, but we have to maintain the beauty of our society. We have to stop BSing one another. We have to stop this lying. I can't tell you how many times I've checked to see if lying was still a part of the restrictive laws. And I'm not talking about lying saying that I'm a short white boy with blonde hair and freckles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm talking about the kind of lying when we say we are what we're not. When we say we're going to do what we're not.
Mm,
When we say we've been where we haven't been,
mm.
and when we say we are following, and in some case we might be following, but we're following so far behind that we can no longer see a silhouette out there in front of us.
Mm.
And if that's the case, we're losing touch with our roots, and we have to get back to our roots.
Excellent. And Brother Captain, on that note, on that positive note, on this Sunday, so many people are showing you love from all around the world. We can't wait to get this on YouTube. We want to thank you. And inshallah, we got to make this a series to bring you back, because you gave me so many more talking points to talk about Dr. Sebi coming on and the time with him and Ray and all. We got so many talking points now. We can break this down to a series to get a playlist on the People's Podcast where we can hear so much more about your life journey. But thank you for giving us part 2, at least today. And inshallah, we will talk about part 3 very soon.
I thank you, dear brother. I appreciate the opportunity, and I love you more than you know.
Yes, sir. Love you. Yes, sir. And this is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you all for watching. Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother all the way out from Las Vegas, Brother Capt Wayne Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we thank Allah for you and your family and look forward to hearing from you today, sir.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you to all those that you just mentioned.
Yes, sir. Well, part 1 was phenomenal, and that gave us the groundwork for part 2. But part 2, we want to start off with our brother Minister Jabril, and your interactions with him, sir.
Yes, sir. Again, I said late 80s, early 90s, but my personal interaction with him was in the early 90s at the same hotel that he met with the minister at.
Mm.
I was actually in Los Angeles, putting down a ceramic tile floor that a sister had donated some Italian tile, and somehow I got the assignment to lay it all down in there.
Mm.
And while I was doing such, brother came in and told me I needed to go get Brother Jabril.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honored and confused at the same time, because back then we had somewhere between 150 and 200 brothers that was coming there for our class. And it was, I forgot to put that back on, didn't I? Anyway, I went on and got there and everything, and I enjoyed a wonderful time with my dear brother. Brother Jabril is just a magnificent teacher. For me, I really strive to get everything he got, but sometimes I would get a headache from exhaustion. And I remember going across the street to the coffee shop, and Brother Jabril gave me a book. I had asked Brother Jabril if he would be kind enough to help me learn all those things that I was not present for prior to 75 and such. And so he shared a book with me, and I read the book and gave it back to him, and he got, he got heated. He explained to me in detail that it wasn't for me to do a thumbnail sketch. He wanted me to read the book. And he was, let's just say, extremely stern in his conversation.
Mm,
And so I explained to him that I had took a course, back then it was called the Evelyn Wood speed reading course. And so I explained to him everything that was in the book that he had shared with me. I explained to him in detail about the boys in the book, their names, what their mission was, what their accomplishments were. And Brother Jabril was extremely impressed. And we became brothers and friends at that time. And he still cracked my cranium quite often. And he would always not just tell you something, but he would give you a way to confirm and verify everything that he said. And in some cases, it was likened to a homework assignment. So it's like, I believe you, brother. You know, but I had much love for my brother. And, you know, what made me love him even more was the love that I saw with him and the minister. It was a perfect example of brotherly love. And no, we were nowhere near Philadelphia, but this man was such a gem in our midst. I mean, there's many people that think this, that, and the other. I just think he was a wonderful brother and a friend. I know that he was guided by Allah because that which he revealed, that which he was a part of, came directly from Allah and Allah's messenger. I was told that Brother Jabril once told the messenger that if the messenger was wrong, Brother Jabril would be able to prove, in fact, what it was that was right or correct. And I thought that was a rather bold statement to say to the messenger of Allah. But after getting to know my dear brother, I could see where he had all the ammunition to prove all the words that came out of his mouth. And that was the kind of love that I had for the brother and still do.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. And people are showing love all around the world. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. And a brother says, all praises to Allah. Thank you, brothers, for this conversation and the memories. Brother Jabril, may Allah be pleased. Beautiful. Yes, sir. Next. Yes, sir. Next, we want to speak about, I've interviewed many members of the military of the Nation of Islam, the FOI, but I've never heard this title, Marshal. Could you explain to us what a marshal is in the ranks of the Nation of Islam, sir?
I guess when I figure it out, I'll be able to share that with you. No, there was a, I believe, a laborers meeting that held place in Chicago where some of the captains that were in the nation at the time received badges. And we took an oath and we retook a pledge. And in those words, it gave us the responsibility for those that were present to not just abide by the law, but in fact, if we were found guilty of violating the law, we would get twice the amount of time as the general body of believers. And in addition to that, your father gave me the position of a marshal. And it was intended for me to be able to go to the various different mosques. I'm getting into the explanation of what a marshal does without the necessity of a travel letter and without the necessity of being over someone or under someone. To basically, I believe, and I don't know this as an actual fact, whether it's written down or nothing, or any of that matter. I believe it would be very similar to what an investigator would do. But in addition to what the investigator would do, my particular position was to help teach and train the captains, particularly in the Western region. But whenever I was blessed to go on a national tour with the minister, I would help in whatever cities he was going to. We would go in advance, and I would deal with the captains and make sure that everything was set up for his arrival.
All praises to Allah. Yes, sir. Go ahead, recap. And my sister Miriam says, Assalamu alaikum, family. And my sister Naima says, Assalamu alaikum, family. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you both for watching. Thank you, everybody else who's watching as well. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. All right. Yes, sir. So during this time period, it seemed to be very intense. There may have been, there were death threats on the life of the minister and the believers. Those who are saying the Most High Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Were you ever afraid, Brother Captain? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
No, sir, brother. You know, yes, there were death threats on our father, but by God's grace, we were able to intercept many of them. And based on that particular experience, I was able to intercept through the Santa Maria Sheriff's Department some of the death threats that was posed on our brother Michael Jackson. But when you with the minister, dear brother, there's no need for fear. I fear no one or nothing but Allah. And I humbly believe that Allah was indeed with my father. And as I stood next to him, there was just no need for fear. As they say, for the Lord was with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so because of that experience and such a wonderful example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, man, look, I take my God with me everywhere. And I humbly suggest that we all start letting him tag along with us. Maybe we won't do some of the things that we would do when we think he ain't around.
That's right.
If we consciously bring our God with us, brother, what is there to fear? You know, prior to coming into the Nation of Islam, I used to fight better than the average man. And again, prior to coming into the Nation of Islam, I used to shoot way better than the best of them. So fear hasn't been an issue for me since I was in grammar school, worrying about whether or not the girls were going to like me. That's the last fear that I had, brother. And I overcame that one too.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Okay. My next question for you, sir, is I wanted to ask you about, judging the drill competition and in your or your participation with the drill and the drill competition. How did that come about?
Well, that was because of the great brother Captain Wali. Brother Captain Wali was pretty much in charge of the drill competition at the time. And I want to say it was your uncle, Brother Jamil, that wasn't able to be present because of other duties that he had. And so Brother Captain Wali asked me to sit in on the drill competition, and that lasted for quite a few years. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I learned a lot. You know, I felt a certain kind of way because my now wife was on the Los Angeles number 27 drill team that won 3 years in a row.
Okay.
And the experience for me came when my dear sister Charlene, who was the MGT captain at the time, she was also on that panel, and she disqualified the sisters because of something having to do with their garments. Don't get me involved in that. I don't do that. I've held every post but MGT. I'm gonna leave that alone. And my sister told me what was going on, and I objected. And then she made it very, very clear to me it was a sister thing. And yeah, I was no longer involved in that conversation.
Yes, sir.
but I love my sister to this day more than she could ever know, because she taught me something about being a man. And I know we say that women can't never raise a man. I didn't say she raised me. I said she taught me something about being a man. And I love her to this day because of that.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. What there was, I often ask people from the West Coast about their time with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Could you let me know about your time with him, sir?
Well, you make me smile at all your questions, brother. You know, again, you know, we got much love for our dear beloved brother. I know. A lot of people got issues. I don't have those issues because I was blessed to gain an understanding before those issues came up. So I had a wonderful time with Khalid. I'm not going to talk about nobody that Allah has returned to himself in a negative way, but hopefully those who know my spirit know that I'm a little crazy sometimes. So I feel real comfortable saying that Khalid was kind of crazy too. Yeah, I love him, don't get me wrong, but you know, the minister had shared words with Brother Khalid and Brother Malik. And I'm going to share those words. I feel as though if the minister wants us to know, he better qualified than me, at least. But that being said, the words that the minister shared came to pass. And so that being the reality of it all, well, it was almost as if though it had to happen. You know, I mean, I don't know how long everybody has been acquainted with our beloved minister, but my personal experience, you know, you could tell me something that the minister said, and I'm just going to bear witness, because in the few years that I've been around, the minister ain't never lied to me. And I just can't see how a man so not just blessed or gifted or anything, but guided. Why does this man lie? Why would he have a reason to lie? It's almost as if you think he lying, you got to really believe that the God is lying. Because the man is divinely guided.
That's right. That's right.
And like his father, he doesn't speak idle words.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I've been so blessed to see the man in so many phases of human life. You know, I know again that he loved Khalid. I know that he loved Khalid because I saw his love for Khalid. Did Khalid cause some issues for him to have to intervene? Of course he did. He was Khalid. But you know, I didn't know Khalid back in the Harold days, but him and our dear brother Shahid used to roll through the neighborhood in Rohams and sedans. And if you would get caught, they would take you to the mosque. And they would take, now don't get me wrong, they get you a bean soup, a sandwich, something. But, you know, back then I had some athleticism about me to where I wasn't about to get caught by no big old tall dude that, no, no, that wasn't gonna happen. And I found out later that it was our great brother, Minister Wazir, who was actually mentoring Khalid and Shaheed at that time. And I was blessed to have that conversation with Shaheed many decades later. I said, brother, I'm certain that the statute of limitations are over, but you do know that was kidnapping, right? I mean, come on. I feel okay to talk about it now because pretty much everybody is not going to be charged. But it's just been a blessing, dear brother, to know Khalid, you know, with all the issues that he had. How about the fact that he was one of the best fishers of men? How about when he spoke at an arena, our attendance grew, our membership grew. Brothers became more militant and or disciplined based on things that him and Malik were doing. They had a very, very stringent FOI house in Los Angeles, over in the jungle area. And now I'm certain that everybody ain't gonna agree with me on this, but the reality is they made it happen. So I'm not saying that Khalid did everything right, not by any means. I'm not saying that Malik did everything right by any means, but I do thank Allah for those soldiers, just as we thank Allah for Malcolm. You know, I remember Khalid telling the minister that he felt as Malcolm did. He say, what was that quote about, I wish it was me who was an example for you, and something of that nature. I'm not gonna try and quote him. But yeah, you know, and we clowned him because, you know, like, yeah, bro, I don't know if you Malcolm, you know what I mean? You doing a good work, you know what I'm saying? But you know, that's been my personal blessing, is that no matter how severe, no matter how crazy it is, first and foremost, Allah gave me a sense of humor, and I use it as my defense mechanism. So when it comes time to fight, I believe at this point in time, I talk way too well to be fighting. I would feel uneducated if I started fighting at this age, brother. Yes, sir. We can definitely talk this out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, no, Khalid was, I can't say he's one of a kind because, man, you know, if you look at our history, they have always been stars. And if you look around those stars, you can see those that are lit up all around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we had young Khalidites.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know,
sir.
we
Yes,
had young Jabrillians.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We had all kind of followings from great pioneers and great leaders.
Yes,
and
sir.
People wanted to be like them. Even our dear brother Steve Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
He got a whole crew. He left LA, but he got a whole crew left behind that we still call the Karate Kids, even though they grown and old as heck. But they'll always be the Karate Kids, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They walk like Steve. They started looking like Steve, and they could fight like Steve. And you know, we just have a really, really, really wonderful, wonderful nation. And many of us don't realize the type of talent that is all around us. You know, just because a brother or a sister is not mounting the rostrum doesn't mean that he or she is not contributing a true blessing to our nation.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm gonna tell you, brother, I don't like to share a whole lot of personal conversations, but those words weren't mine. I was given those words because of a talent that I have that nobody knew about.
Mm.
And it helped me get through.
Go ahead,
I
bro.
think we still on, Brother Khaled, but
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go ahead and close out on it.
Yes, sir. No, excellent. And thank you for your perspective as well. People showing you love all around the world. Minister Jamil says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, sir. He says, Aunt Cleo, you were beloved by Aunt Cleo, as well as my pop-up, our grandfather. He said, you took care of our family. He thanks you for that. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Minister Jamil, as well, aka my uncle. All right. Yes, sir. My next question for
Praise
you.
be to Allah. Please, please, please type it in, whisper it, yell at them. Please return the greetings.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
love them
sir.
all.
Praise be to Allah. All right. I wanted to ask you about, because we got the whole Michael Jackson section after we do the sponsorships, but I wanted to ask you about Minister Ava coming to the West, or your interactions with her as well.
I did. Wow. Boy, you bringing back some wonderful memories there, brother.
Praise be to Allah.
Sister Ava was definitely a gem as well. My fondest memory of Sister Ava, it's a close second, but my fondest time with Sister Ava was getting everybody to realize that her husband's name was not Sister Ava's husband.
Okay.
It was Brother Darius, bless his heart. This big old brother, he strong soldier, he's securing his wife, and everybody's saying, Sister Ava's husband.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please call that Brother Darius. He has a name, And but to be honest with you, I followed Sister Ava around the Western region whenever she was in the area. And I was fortunate enough to go to San Diego one of the times that she was speaking there. And I was blessed to find a wife. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, she wasn't my wife at the time, and it was a while after that point that it actually came to pass. But the sister that I met over there, I shouldn't say I met her, but I seen her for the second or third time, and I realized that she was doing what I was doing. She was helping to secure Sister Minister Ava. And wow, it turns out it took me about a year after that point, but I ended up praying to the God. And I suggest that all of our singles do. I prayed a prayer, "Oh Allah, prepare me for someone and prepare someone for me, that we might raise our children, we might live our lives in your name and raise our children by your word." And I believe that the God that I serve answered my prayers with the woman that I believe was meant for me or prepared for me, because I sure enough prepared for her.
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And thank you everyone who's showing love to our brother Capt Wayne, brother Nasir, Dave Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum, salam. Sir? Yes, sir, absolutely. And my sister Naima says, all praise to Allah. Thank you all very much. And Mr. Jamil says, beautiful prayer. Uncle Jamil, he talked about you earlier dealing with the drill competition. I don't think you were on yet. We have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of People's Podcast, and we're coming right back with our brothers so that we can continue to learn this great history of our nation, and as well as hear about his walk with Michael Jackson, because a lot of us want to know about that. All right, here we go. All right, there.
Camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book. All three available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Kenneth's Bow Tie Maker Extraordinaire. He'll ship you bow ties anywhere across the nation. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 Disinfected Cleaning Services, out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra, as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon. If you would like to donate or...
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. We're coming right back to our brother. We have one more, Sister Sherry Muhammad with Asiatic Minds. If you all would like to enroll your child in Asiatic Minds, it's a virtual school where they teach STEM all around the world. You can enroll your child at asiaticminds.com and learn STEM virtually with Asiatic Minds. Phenomenal institution. All right, great. Right back to our brother. All right. Yes, sir. We want to talk about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and your relationship with him, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Captain? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. It is closed. Can you hear me, sir? Yeah. Can't hear you, Rick. Can't hear you, sir. Hey, sir. No problem. Well, and come back on. All right. Thank you very much, Brother Cap.